Welcome. Let's take a look at then and now in radiology. The field of medical imaging is evolving rapidly, and digital radiography is here. But what about our past? Let's take a look at the skills and the technology from the past and compare them to the skills and technology required to produce medical images today. Konrad Wilhelm Roentgen, or Roentgen, lived from 1845 to 1923, and he discovered X-rays. He was a German physicist. While studying cathode ray tubes, this German physicist discovered X-rays on November 8, 1895, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1901. Using the photographic property, he was able to produce photos of brass weights in a wooden box, and soon thereafter the first photo of bones in a living hand, his wife Bertha. He discovered that the output of X-rays could be increased by impinging the cathode rays on a heavy metal anti-cathode tube, which could also be the anode of the tube. This arrangement is today the basis of the modern X-ray tube. This presentation, Retro Radiology, is a look at technology from 1895 until today, 2023. Here we see the lab of William Conrad Roentgen, and also Roentgen in an historic photo operating one of his early X-ray machines on his wife Bertha. After the discovery of photographic X-ray in 1895, they advanced rapidly around the world, including first diagnosis of bone fracture in the United States in February 1896. Here we can see in France the use of X-ray equipment, including the X-ray's first timer, which was around 1900 to 1920. This allowed physicians to turn the dial and create an X-ray for up to 11 seconds. Here we can see the control panel for an early X-ray machine called the Roentgen 4. We can also see that several manufacturers were making X-ray equipment. Here we see an old picker machine, the control panel from way back when. With time, the X-ray control panels improved, and here we can see a GE panel from about 1970, somewhere around there. Some of the more experienced techs today, or the older techs, may have used that type of equipment. But today, what we're utilizing is digital X-ray. Acquisitions of digital X-ray is totally different than acquiring X-rays for the photographic process discovered by Roentgen. Today's image receptor, whether a CR plate or a digital panel, requires different techniques, and the image is processed by a computer instead of the photographic process. Let's look back and review the photographic process in creating images. Wet plate cameras derive their name from light-sensitive chemical coating applied to a photographic plate, a glass plate. The plate was used while wet, which was a messy but effective process that allowed photographers to make high-quality negatives in exposures of less than 30 seconds. In 1901, Kodak was able to upgrade the wet plates to a paper product. One of the first cassettes to hold this type of paper was a wooden cassette, and here we see one from 1910. Glass plate radiography was used up until 1918. Here we see an image of a glass plate done in 1912. In 1918, Eastman of Eastman Kodak developed film for X-ray. Film processing and later film screen processing became prevalent for quite a few decades. The first digital images began to appear in the 1980s with CT, etc., but we still use film processing for images until approximately 2007. In 2007, we started using the digital imaging process and started to abandon film screen processing. Analog images are converted to digital, and then the digital images are then by computer converted to visible light or analog to be visible on a monitor. Although this is the way we process images today, there are still many people that are working in the field that use film screen processing. Let's look at the transition from film screen to digital. The film had to be held in some light-tight compartment so that it could be exposed. And here we see images of old cassettes, including paper cassettes, whole-body cassettes, and cassettes that were shaped to go around the knee. These cassettes were then transported to the darkroom where the technologists would process the X-rays using the time and temperature development system. The films were unloaded from the cassette and affixed to a hanger, and then they were put into chemical tanks which would be controlled with temperature, and they would use a water bath, then a developer bath, then a fixer to stop the development, and then a bath to wash the chemicals off. It was a long process. The first film processors took several minutes to process the images. We then upgraded to a faster processor, and finally processors were routinely 90 seconds and improved speed down to 30 seconds. The darkroom was its own kingdom, and if you had some time and there weren't very many patients, it was a good place to get some rest. This is the first in a mini-series of shorts on X-ray being produced. Thank you for your time and your interest. Mark Struthers.